Welcome to another cycle of Dirty Laundry Clean Confessions, a family podcast created for the next generation. Grandma Smarge can't wait to see what you'll become, Monk and Little Al. Live, pre-recorded from our family laundry room, with Smarge, Haas, and sometimes Otter, and always not the real guest. Here we hang it on the line with everyday ordinary people who are doing extraordinary things. In the room where famous people are loved, adored, and admired, however, not invited, except for the great Willie Nelson, of course. Thanks for joining us in the laundry room while we fold through life's journeys. Here, we're keeping it real, washing through stains, and making colors a little bit brighter.
Well, hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hello, welcome to the laundry room.
Yeah, how are you guys doing this fine evening?
I'm
Good.
exhausted.
It's officially fall.
It's laundry room lap dances tonight.
Oh, yeah.
I love
It
it.
is.
We're back.
But yeah, it's been a little crazy. I'm a little behind on my laundry.
Yeah,
I
I
bet.
bet. And you got new laundry machines. How are they working?
Do you know how to work them?
Yeah.
Is the question.
I think because it's been kind of stressful with a lot of people living here and everything. No, I'm not crazy over them. I'm really struggling.
Well, I know
But
where your old ones went if you want them back.
I know. Would he mind?
get
Would he mind swapping, 23-year-old washer and dryer for a brand new set?
Probably not. I think he'd be.
I just have a problem with, and I do think it's from some of my surgeries I've had, with the touch screen. I should have thought more about that.
Can you control it from your phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
That's all you need.
oh yeah, do you know how often the laundry would not get done because I can't find my phone?
Yeah, that's true. That's not.
I mean, I am
That's
the
good.
worst
That would
to
probably
put
be bad
anything
for
on my phone. That's why I still have. Could you connect it to the landline? If you can connect it to a landline phone or an Xfinity remote, I can do anything.
God forbid it's on your computer. Cause
By the
you'll never
time-
get
Oh,
it.
well, that new laptop locked me out again. I've never even gotten an email on it.
By the time
God.
Monk and Little Al listen to this, they're gonna be like, "What,
What
are you
are they?
talking
What
about?"
What is
archaic
What is a landline?
thing?
All washer and dryers are Wi-Fi now. or-
Oh no, they won't. I'm going to be teaching them. They're not going to forget everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to let them. I'll be sharing it. And I have all my old antiques. They're going to be asking all that
Oh,
crap.
yeah.
But anyway, good news. Well, I kicked you out on Sunday. How you doing over there?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good,
Feels
good. You
to
look
have
good.
My own
Space?
space, but I miss my roommates. It's been
Right,
so
right.
quiet.
We
I
do
have
miss
one
dinner.
roommate now.
Yeah.
It's been very quiet.
Yeah. So hot or Smarge? What happened to all your roommates?
Yeah.
And then
Everyone
the
left.
family, Monk and his little family, closed on a home Tuesday
Tuesday.
Oh,
yeah.
how exciting!
this week, and they moved in, and so they are gone. And then the two dogs go tomorrow to their new yard.
So you went
It's gonna
from
be so quiet here.
yeah, it's eerie.
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you hear ghosts and stuff? Like, is it
No.
like
No.
that?
Well, like that.
I hear a ghost.
What the hell? Well, anyway, usually not. No, but you never know.
Yeah. Well, it sounds
So-
crazy.
So
All
it
the
is kind of,
craziness.
but they were able to move into their new home, and they just look so cute in it, just cute little family. So that was
Aw,
great,
That's awesome.
I just-
and they're just so happy. And they waited for this for a while.
they
so
did. They
so.
deserve this new home, and it's so exciting. I just can't wait to finally get a new home of myself for myself.
Yeah, how is that going, Haas? You talked about
Is that
you're
your
gonna start saving
confession,
up.
Haas?
I was gonna say, I feel like I do have a bit of confession. For all the people I know who have bought homes and how much research I've done myself and how long I've been waiting to buy a home, I still feel like I have no idea what goes into it and how much money you realistically need to save and what the rates are like, blah blah blah. Like, I just feel I'm so in the dark sometimes.
It's a lot.
It's so overwhelming.
But good news, because our NTRG, not the real guest today, is Alissa, and she is a professional realtor.
You actually were Little Monk's realtor as well.
That is correct. Yep.
Yeah. She's our go-to realtor.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah.
I can't personally attest to working with her, but I've seen her progress over the last 4 to 5 years, and I think she's really booming in the business.
Yeah.
Nice.
You really know how to
Yeah.
market yourself well. That's for
Thank
sure.
you. Well, I was in the title industry before, so I do have some back knowledge coming into the business, which definitely helped. From liens and deeds and encumbrances. I mean, all that not so cool stuff, but it's
Yeah.
like this big bubble in my brain that I always had. I worked at a local title company for 5 years, just about. So I learned a lot doing that. And then I, started seeing those real estate agents' checks, and I was like, wait a minute, like I could do that. It's funny, I was only 27, and you look at yourself and you're like, God, I'm so old. And I look back, I'm like, I thought I was old.
So young.
Yeah, like,
Yep.
and I'm like,
that only gets worse.
right. I'm like, thank goodness I went and got my license. And yeah, I've helped a ton of friends and family. I mean, really, truly, elevate their lives, you know, and like little Monk, beyond them buying, he's all, they also sold with me, the previous one. So it's really cool to watch people, buy their so-called starter home and then move to the so-called forever home.
Yeah. It's really
and I mean, it's wild to think over the times of, your brother-in-law was one of my very first buyers.
Yeah.
And
Oh my gosh,
he,
really?
yeah, one of my very, very first, and still chipping away at that mortgage on his own. And I love to think about that because that could have easily been rent somewhere
and
for
just lost
how long?
money.
I mean, he probably would have paid $100K by now.
Right, 100%.
That has gone back in his pocket in the form of equity. So, I mean, I did a training the other day, really kind of ego boost about helping people elevate their lives. So yes, thank you guys for having me. I'm happy to be
That
here.
was always actually like my life motto. Like throughout college, I actually never rented a place on my own because I was always like dog sitting and everything.
Right.
And I made it like my personal mission to never pay rent, because if I'm like dog sitting and I'm staying at other people's houses nearly full time, why am I going to spend all this money to pay rent in an apartment that I'm never at?
Right, absolutely.
So I'm proud to say that I never rented a place.
Did you really?
I really, truly, I got away with it. When I was
Nice.
25, I bought my first home with my husband.
I
now
do
husband,
remember
so.
Smarge and Poppy G putting you up for
You did.
only like
That
2 months
revolving
or
door that
something.
you guys have.
2 months?
You
1
only
month.
had
Oh, only 1 month and
zero
only one.
roommates, though.
Wait, and did you even have?
I can't.
Did
do
you
roommates.
have Layla?
No, Layla had just passed away like 3 months
That's
before that. We
right,
just
that's
got
right.
Mila, and Mila was like
Mila, right?
a little
Oh my
baby.
Yeah,
gosh,
that's
yes.
right. That's
Little
right.
baby
She
Mila.
was so cute.
Yeah.
She was a puppy. No, that's awesome. You are an amazing realtor. You're an amazing marketer. So is it realtor or real estate agent?
So, well, first off, just because all my real estate professionals, just so you know, it's realtor.
realtor.
There's
Not-
no
Realtor.
There's not. It's not 3
Thank
syllables.
you.
It's 2. Just
all
I know all my
sounding a
friends
little-
just out there in the
I
world.
definitely say
Realtor.
They're all
But it's-
graduated
so
from
there's-
Jefferson County, and there seems
We're
to
all
be this.
products of Jeffco here.
Yeah, and there seems to be a spelling issue every now and then, a math issue, and a little twang or something. I'm like, are you?
It's nationwide. People always say realtor, and it's just realtor. So just to point that out.
Yeah.
But what that means is you're part of
Realtor.
an association.
Okay.
That means basically you pay a fee and you abide by a certain board of ethics. you
Yeah.
know. And so there's a lot of sharks in the business. So when you say you're able to actually be a realtor instead of just a real estate agent, you hang your license at a brokerage that abides you to be on NAR or another association.
Does that
More
also? So
legit.
once you're, does that also open up more of the market of what you comes to you and you can offer them on, or not really?
Only
Not
people
necessarily.
Know the difference.
Yeah, only because I would say the general public doesn't really know. And if you are somebody that people trust and you have a big network, you're going to get business. So it doesn't really matter
No.
where.
I mean, actually, how do I put this?
Training?
No, yeah, maybe the training or.
No, you pay a fee.
Education.
So it's just okay.
You pay
Oh,
money.
okay.
It's just
But
like-
what I would
yeah.
say
It's just
is
like-
ethically working on transactions with agents, I would say I do have a better time working with agents who are on an association. They
Okay,
generally are more cooperative and willing to get to the finish line in a more
Right.
cohesive way. There's
Okay.
a lot of sharky, and if you just, there's a lot of one-off random agents that, either start their own brokerage, and it's not that they're all snakes, but there's just a lot of,
Right, yeah.
just do what you want, kind of,
Yeah.
kind of get the deal done. And I really try to be very ethical and transparent through the whole thing.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Okay. No, you answered the question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How many homes do you think you've even sold in your whole career thus far?
I'm
Because you've
getting
been
near
in this,
50.
now 4 years.
Yeah,
you say?
I'm like in the 50s.
50?
That's a lot.
It's a decent amount, and I mean,
it's not
is
like
there
you're
an
selling
average,
one a day,
or is there
like it's a process.
I'm sure everyone has their goals, but is there like an average?
Well,
different?
I'm sure there is an average, but I don't know it offhand. And what I will say is, some people get their real estate license and they sell 2 houses a year because maybe they're not the breadwinner of the family, and 2 houses is all they need. It's a couple, and I mean, it's all based on purchase price. Everyone knows this. So if you're working in luxury homes, you have over $1 million homes.
Right.
That's like you've sold 3 smaller priced condos.
Like selling Sunset.
Yeah, I mean, some of those commissions are wild. So it really depends on your network and who you know. And I know personally, as my people continue to elevate their lives, my business will also continue to grow.
Yeah.
Because people are getting paid more. And, unfortunately, I mean, it is what it is. People inherit money, family members pass, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
That's really how a lot of the time people move into buying homes and stuff like that.
I was going to ask you about that because it seems, especially in Colorado, but I think nationwide, it's just gotten so expensive to buy a home, and so many people are in a position where
it's crazy.
they're ready to buy a home, they want to buy a home, but they
don't
don't
quite the federal government's interest rate hasn't really helped.
Well, the interest rate's not helping anybody right now, but it's just really hard to buy a house because there's a lot of competition and it's expensive.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, I would say a big part of that is talking to a good, honest real estate agent on your side, but also a really good lender, having an amazing local lender that is honest from the beginning and can really tell you where you stand. I've had numerous friends talk to a lender and, not really like necessarily what they hear back. Because they're like, well, you're only going to approve me up to $350,000. That's not near enough to buy a house that I want.
But so you go find somebody else.
So they'll go find someone like snaky, but then, really the deal falls apart and they can't actually afford. So
didn't we learn something from the housing market crash in 2008?
Yeah. Well,
wasn't that from a lot of people just it
was subprime mortgages.
And also just they were getting these loans for
that they could not afford.
You could literally go in and you could say, I make $150K a year, and they would just believe you.
They didn't cross check that.
Now we do a VOE, which is called the verification of employment. 3 days before closing, they call your employer to make sure that what you filled out on your loan application is still true. Yeah. So, I mean,
I remember
honestly, the housing market is set up a lot differently. Anytime people are like waiting for it to crash, it's like, it's just not set up how it was. They don't give out candy like they used to.
You mean we learned a little bit? Good.
A little bit, yeah. There's a lot more backing. And I also feel that way because we live in Denver, so we have it better.
I do have a quick question going back to someone mentioned selling Sunset or something.
Selling Sunset.
So I was watching something crazy, and I think I've even mentioned it before on the podcast. It was something like that. And it was in New York, though, in, I believe, of course, Manhattan area or something. And the garage that came with I don't know what you call them. I mean, you can't call them an apartment, can you?
A flat.
A townhome. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it
Condo.
was. That alone was something like $75,000.
Just for the garage, just for the parking spaces and
the garage, and then they showed the garage. I don't know, maybe a Mini
Cooper,
maybe a Mini Cooper, and I'm not talking the club one, guys. No, teeny tiny, and I'm also not talking probably the newer ones. I'm talking like the '60s ones. Has that happened to Colorado yet?
I'm showing you right now. I have
it has. That was my question.
Right now, $65,000 parking space. I got it this morning.
It's a thing.
At the Spire downtown.
That was my question. Has that come to Colorado? So
it's very specific buildings. So this one right here is in the Spire, which is on 14th Street downtown. So this is a $65,000 parking space.
That's just the parking
a year.
Space. That's just if you want to
total.
Keep your
you
car.
buy the parking space and you own it. You have to have to be an agent. I'm sorry. You have to be an owner of the building to buy a parking space.
Oh, okay. That's
I have him on an email search, and that's the cheapest one we've seen.
That's so crazy.
So it has happened. Okay.
Wow.
Wow.
And currently he pays to park his car elsewhere because he doesn't have a parking space.
So
Monk and Little Al, I don't know where it'll be when you finally listen to this, if you ever do, but apparently investing in parking spaces is a good investment.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what they do in Australia, because we have some family members in Australia, and it's so brilliant, is you
brilliant.
It is brilliant. You pay to,
It's
like live in your apartment or whatever. And then they have like ride shares, and then they have like a couple different cars that like, I don't know, the complex owns.
Oh, cool.
And then you can just like
rent that
request
car or
to,
whatever?
to
Very
borrow
cool.
it.
Cool. I love that.
Yeah. So
Very
like,
much.
Eco-friendly.
Wow, we'd have to
Yeah.
raise a lot of Americans.
we would.
We'd have to
I don't
get
know-
everyone in through like a driving course.
For some
again.
reason, I feel like we're really good on the start about explaining to our children and, sharing and let's share. But something switched between 18 and, I don't know, 25. And we're like, fuck that shit. We ain't sharing nothing anymore. So I think we'd have to really retrain a lot of people for that to work, don't you?
Yeah, for
I
sure.
mean, but who knows? I mean, but then also if you have a great little community like that, hopefully you're going to attract all the people that will be willing to do.
Well, my dad and I were
ride
just
shares
talking
and
about
all
how
of that.
turning 16 is a pivotal moment because you can't really navigate our infrastructure without a car.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, the
Especially
burbs.
being in
Yeah.
United States, Colorado especially.
I mean, there's certain neighborhoods of Denver that, you sort of can, but to get to the grocery
Ooh,
store.
I wonder where.
we would walk
I wonder where Lakewood,
everywhere.
Colorado will be in 20 years.
Right?
yeah.
Belmar's
Yeah.
kind of the only little
Yeah,
Kind of blowing up.
Yeah.
somewhat walkable.
we're going to be
Wait.
out in the sticks still, or we're going to be like almost closer to downtown Denver. I don't know. It's going to go one way or
Who
another.
knows?
Yeah.
So,
Well, oh no, you go.
I was just going to say, so what would be like your best advice for someone who's selling a home and for someone who's buying a home? Like the best thing that they could do to increase their odds?
So, let's start with selling.
Yeah.
I would say selling is continuing general home maintenance
Yeah.
truly all the time.
That's good advice.
I mean, doing seasonal home maintenance, it seems silly, like, oh, the gutters. But if you don't clean your gutters, then, like, oftentimes your siding will rot, and then you're getting
Yeah.
this, and then you have, like,
Well, then
puddles
your
of
then
water.
it comes into your home, and then
your
roof, and then-
foundation.
yeah,
So
then- yeah.
one thing
It
leads
all
to the
adds up.
next.
A
So I would
domino
say
effect, if
constant
you will.
home maintenance. And then in this
Is there a
market staging.
book? Has anybody written a book or a checklist for new homeowners?
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, my brokerage has a ton of lists, and I
Yeah,
put out
you
social
share them.
media.
I have some new
Yeah.
Those are
homeowners
great.
that I believe may need that very checklist.
Yes, I
So
will- I
thank
will
you.
share it
Thank
with
you.
Yeah, and
Because I'm
side
concerned
note-
about a few things, not everything, but a few things I'm a little concerned about.
Side note, if you're not already following Alissa, which I believe your Instagram is Homes with Alissa.
That's correct.
We can
Thank you.
tag you.
Yeah,
also
we'll
in
tag
the-
you, but you should follow her because she posts all kinds of wonderful things. She's very interactive with her followers, but lots of like helpful and useful things.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I try to mix it up from pretty houses to stats to this and that, which I'll get back
Yes,
to. So
yes,
Those
she
are
knows that's my
fun.
By
favorite.
chance, do you know a good electrician?
Oh, I know so many.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
send them
we
our way.
will need to
I've got a good
discuss-
one
Oh,
that-
great.
I'll shout out Seneca Trujillo.
Oh,
Okay.
He's great. He's done it for 10 plus years. I send
How
him a lot of
about
business.
that?
He's amazing.
Great. Then
Right
I
out of
will
high school.
But
definitely.
anyway, to finish your
Yeah.
Sorry.
And if you're
Thanks.
buying, so what's the question? If best advice for a buyer?
Yeah, to like increase their odds of, getting that. Well, first you said seller, the best thing they can do is just maintain their home.
I would say maintain, and then when it comes time to actually listing, is pricing it right from the beginning. And that means probably lower than you think, which is sad, but this is the least buyer demand we've had in 3 decades. And that's because interest
crazy.
rates are
Yep.
in the almost 8% right now.
That's really high.
So, and I could go on for days, but I was just telling the girls, I submitted a request for my marketing team. So I'll be posting that soon, where basically it's the pros and cons of being a homeowner in this market.
Yeah.
And pretty much the pro list is ginormous, from seller paid repairs, seller paid interest rate buy downs, less competition. I mean, more negotiation term. You have time to actually think and breathe overnight
Right,
before you make a
right.
decision.
Yeah.
And the con is an 8% interest rate.
Which
So-
you can refinance at some point.
You can
hopefully.
refinance at some point. Exactly. And I mean, it's tough because, you don't, I can't ever guarantee anything. Again, they always say you don't have a crystal ball, and I don't. But I do know people who have bought homes are not having a landlord raise their rent, and they haven't in 5 years.
Yeah.
So you're locked into what you agree on, and it's great.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
buyers, I'd say, obviously save money, be selective, but to a point where you're reasonable. So no house is perfect.
Right.
No.
Right.
All my buyers think everything's perfect. Nothing is perfect. You're going to have
gonna
to
be some
sacrifice on
issue.
something.
Right.
Yes.
And what I always tell people is you can't move the house,
No.
So
location.
Location
That's like always been
is
the motto, right?
truly,
Location,
I mean, it
location,
sounds so
location,
silly.
Location.
Location,
Why
baby.
is that?
You cannot pick up your house and move it. You can change the color. You can change the floor. You can change the whole vibe of the house.
Could add a second
Also,
story.
also on the other side of that, if you like put a bid in, or if they don't accept your offer, it isn't the only house.
That's
you
correct.
may find something very close to perfect, but guess what? That very close to perfect is still out there, correct?
Absolutely. And I mean,
some
there's
people get so discouraged, and
Oh, my
so
gosh.
heartbroken.
there's always more, and it's like it's crazy because there's one thing, I don't believe everything happens for a reason, but I will say I think everything happens for a reason when it comes to real estate, and I really do believe that. I think that there is just a certain element that, you know, it passed by for a right reason. You know, maybe the house was perfect, but maybe the neighbor was going to be a crazy lady. You know, you never know.
Exactly.
Right, and that is something I also learned a long time ago is, yeah, you may get these gifts here and there every now and then. You may never not. It doesn't mean you're always going to know what that gift is. Just be reassured you are receiving them.
And that can be just like a general life rule, you know?
Yeah,
I
just
think they've said, especially like, I don't know, referencing to like 9/11, like someone was like, I was late to work, but it was a good thing I was late to
Right.
work.
I was going to make a laundry reference, but forget it now. Never mind.
You took it to all the
yeah.
I
Woo!
shrunk my
But-
socks, but it was best that I shrunk my socks because it was a 90-degree
I
day and I
was
should have been wearing.
pregnant and I could give the socks to my baby. I don't know.
Okay.
That's too far. Anyway.
Because they really shrunk. Really
Like
teeny,
really
tiny
small.
shrunk. Yeah, really tiny.
And now my
Little
child's
tiny.
feet won't
They
be so
really
cold.
meant do not put in machine dryer, didn't they? They really meant that.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
But no, I do think you probably have one of the coolest jobs that's like ever existed. Like, what is your favorite part about this job?
You know, I love that you asked that. I really do think I have one of the coolest jobs. I never do the same thing twice because every body has a different list of needs and wants and budgets and neighborhoods, and it's amazing. Every single search is different, and I love that. I would say my favorite part is truly handing them the key, and watching them go and go live their life. You know, I mean,
Awesome.
again, like watching people elevate, you know, on average in Colorado right now, let's just do quick math. Let's say $2,500 a month on rent, and you pay that for 3 years. You're
There's your
nearing
down payment.
$100,000, which sounds like it, but you really add it up and you sit and do some math. I mean, you're getting a lot of money that goes down the drain. So when I watch my friends buy a house and then they're making the memories in the home, and then, you know, they're, you know, bringing their kids home, bringing their babies home. It's like, it's so special to me. Like that is the place where they do all the things, you know. So, truly watching
sounds
my
like you found your passion.
Thank you. Yeah, watching my friends elevate their lives, you know.
That's like finding $100 bill in the laundry.
Yeah, we call that a score here. We just love it.
Yes,
You open
I
the
do love
dryer
what
and
I do a lot.
Ooh.
And it's really cool.
That's
and
awesome.
That's such a unique thing to do. Like, not a lot of professions can give that type of luxury and that type of love and amazing feeling to their clients.
Well,
It's
and like
really
you
cool.
said, that's like
And also
it's
empower
not
them, you know?
cold.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I did a training 2 days ago, just really quick, and it was kind of an ego boost. This guy was
You don't
talking
have to
about
be
how
really quick. I'm not in a hurry.
he was
You're
saying
the guest.
how
You take as long
Thank
as you like.
He was basically saying how he used to be a financial advisor and he switched to being a real estate agent, and he says he's helped more people elevate and make moves in their life, and in turn create freedom for themselves and do all these other things
Financial
because
freedom.
because they've moved up, and then they took a cash out refinance and they were able to pay off maybe some medical debt or all
Podcast
these other
room.
things at the podcast room. So
That went
it's
too
really
far.
interesting. He said you guys should really realize as real estate professionals, you're helping people actually maneuver through the world
Yeah, you're giving them control.
Exactly.
Some sort of control over their lives.
in a better way
Yeah.
and be a little more autonomous. And, you know, so that's been really cool because, again, I got licensed in my 20s and now I'm in my 30s. And it's just kind of cool to see the people who I've helped out, and some have sold and bought a
100%.
second house.
And where they
So
are
cool.
now. Yeah, where they were when you first sold for them. It's
pretty cool.
It's amazing.
Well, that
It's
leads
so
me to my next question. I don't know if
I'm ready.
Okay. So, what advice or what can someone do who wants to like upsize, like they're expanding their family, they want to upsize, but income hasn't changed a lot. Like, what's your best advice? And don't say change location, because that's not an option.
So you mean upsize the current home?
Well, no, like buy a bigger home, basically. That's a hard one, I know, right? Because it's like...
Well, so I mean, so you to sell the current one as well, or keep it as
No, you
passive income?
gotta sell it because we need the down payment.
Okay,
Are
so
you talking about yourself, Otter?
I say this because we have little Otter on the way, and
Audie, I
husband
call
works
her
from
Audie.
home. We only have 2 bedrooms, and pretty quickly we're realizing we're running out of space.
you need more room.
And we haven't even had the baby shower yet, so we don't even have all the stuff for baby, and it's already very
So you're saying
apparent.
if you needed to do 2 at once, what's the move? Like if you needed to sell and buy kind of simultaneously?
Yeah, and how
That's
how do
scary.
you upgrade?
Contingency,
Yeah.
I
You
think
would
I
do
hear.
a post-closing
with
occupancy
Smarge.
agreement.
You move in with Smarge, done that before.
You could do
Been
that
there,
too.
done that.
You could either.
do have the
that is
nursery
true.
upstairs.
If you have the option of somewhere to go, in the meantime, you could sell the current house.
Well, we just had
Personally,
3
I would
bedrooms
wait a little
three
bit until
bedrooms
springtime.
open.
Sell the current
Right.
house, and then if you have a place to go in the meantime, that is the dream.
Okay, that's
Um,
ideal.
You heard it here. This is the dream.
This Smart's house. You've housed a few of my clients
Yeah,
between their
Living the dream.
deals, so you've done a great job. So thank
Thank
you,
God
because
they
most people don't
legalized
have
ganja.
that option. You're too funny. Most people don't have that as an option, so that would be the move. The other option, and then obviously in the meantime, look for the new house, get approved for a
Right.
loan, buy it, move out. The other option is to sell and then stay. And it's called a post-closing occupancy agreement. The max you can do it is 60 days, though.
Oh,
So-
Is that
you're really
like,
on
are
a
you
time
renting
crunch.
back in a way? Are you paying for
you
your...
become
okay.
a tenant of your house.
I've heard of this. Okay.
It is a little scary because, well, it's scary for me because I no longer get to represent you as an agent. You become
Oh.
a tenant
Oh,
and they
right.
become your landlord.
Right.
Wow.
So I can't, our agency ends at closing.
Yeah.
So I no longer get to be someone.
but
I can
are
help
you not still
but-
the agent for that person finding their new home?
Yes.
But you just can't help protect them with the old home because it's no longer theirs.
It's
sold
tenants' rights would come into play, so on and so forth.
That's fascinating
Mm-hmm.
and scary. Yeah.
So if you have somewhere to go,
That's the
I hate
best
to encourage a
option.
double move because moving twice sucks.
Sucks.
But it would make it less stressful, frankly. And you're not on like a time crunch because no one likes to be on a time crunch, especially with real estate. It's just not fun to operate like that. So if
No,
you're able
it's not
to
fun.
avoid that, that'd be the move.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good
Good
advice.
to know.
Okay.
Yep.
I think Smarts had a really good question too. Like when you're buying a home, not to keep bouncing around, I apologize, but when you're buying a home, I imagine you have some issues with families. I'd say maybe let's just say partners have very
Oh,
different views on what
Do you
type
ever
of
feel like
house
a
that they
marriage
want.
counselor?
All the time.
I can only imagine.
I just
remember
made a
when-
reel about it.
You should write.
Did
that
you?
on
Yeah.
as
I
your-
I
just
can just
made-
as your
imagine.
title, realtor and marriage counselor.
And life counselor. I mean, all
Oh
of it.
my
It's
God,
like
goodness.
it's. I actually just made a reel about that. I love that you asked because
Yeah.
sometimes they're not on the same page, and I can't make that decision for people. I say you guys have some homework to do,
Yeah.
and you need to go home and get on the
Figure it
same
out.
page.
Yeah.
Because like the budget is determined, okay, done. But sometimes maybe the missus wants to stretch the budget, and the mister's like, we
But we
absolutely cannot.
Right.
But when it comes to like style,
do you get texts from
neighborhood-
each of them like at different times and they don't know their text? They're
oh no, oh no, I am
She
a
wants no
group
part of that.
message. I am a group
Good.
message advocate.
good. I would too.
And
for you.
I don't ever want
Good
anyone
for
to
you.
think that I'm going behind anyone's anything. Nope. I say start a group message, and if the person that is kind of more my primary
Mm-hmm,
contact, if they don't start the group message, then I just text them.
Okay,
but
that's
Yeah.
fair.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm sure you've ran into situations where it's like, the husband wants a big yard, but the wife's like, no, I'd rather live in the city, and then all kinds of things.
Yeah, and I do.
And-
I kind of force them to get on the same page. I send a short list. Obviously bedroom, bathroom, location,
I've
budget.
seen your list. I
Yeah.
like 'em.
I keep
It's
it
to the
keep
point.
it concise.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I can't
like-
help you pick a man cave. Make your own man cave. I
Yeah.
can't put that's not a box to toggle on my search, but it is very interesting seeing how even people. Another recent client, you guys, everyone knows. I don't know their nicknames, but they said one wanted a new build and one wanted an older home with character.
Yeah.
And so that was a fun one. And one of them won because they got the new build. So, yes.
Do you need to renovate your laundry room? Do you need a carpenter? Go ahead and call Arlo Carpentry. Arlo Carpentry will serve all your woodwork needs, from woodwork to wood stock. Arlo Carpentry, serving the greater Denver metro area for the past 13.5 months. Arlo Carpentry, we're gonna nail it for ya. All right, so my next question for you, Alissa, is what is the longest sale you've had? And maybe it's still going, maybe it hasn't sold. And what is the shortest sale you've ever had? Because, you know, the market has fluctuated. There was one point where, like, if you didn't buy the house the second you saw it, you weren't going to get it.
Right.
And now it's changed quite a bit.
Absolutely. So I'd say the longest I had are some really great friends. And they closed an amazing home up in Bailey about, I want to say March or April of this year. They started with me pre-COVID, and it was all over the place at that point, kind of from, Fort Collins all over. And then we just stopped at COVID. They didn't want to look anymore, but we kept a search up.
I'm sure it gets very stressful and frustrating. So it's nice to take a break.
And then they just closed in March. So that would have been a 3-year
Oh my gosh.
journey.
That is the longest.
That's a long one. And then the shortest is like literally 2 weeks.
Wow.
I have 2 short ones. One was, we probably saw 1 week of houses prior, no matches. And then the next week they fell in love, and it was a 2-week close.
Wow.
Nice.
One of my biggest checks of my career. And that was pretty cool. And then another one that was so random. I hadn't shown any homes to this couple. Also went to Bear Creek. Won't say any names, but
Shout out to Bear Creek.
Shout out BCHS.
Jeff, go.
And they went to an open house. I encourage all my clients to pop by open houses because why not?
Yeah,
They're fun.
They
and
are fun.
yeah, and it's might be the one. So go check it out.
Get
you know?
ideas of what you like and what you don't like.
Yeah, and they will always
neighborhoods.
and they'll always, the agent who's working it will always try to get your contact info, and that's fine. And I encourage them to sign in because a lot of it is about safety as well at my business. So sign in,
Right.
that's fine. But don't sign any paperwork, obviously.
Yeah, don't buy the house.
But beyond that,
Call me first.
They loved it, and we wrote an offer, and we closed out in like 3 weeks. So I didn't even
Right.
show the home to them. The
That's crazy.
first one I saw it the first time I saw it was at inspection.
Oh
so,
my gosh, that's
yeah,
so cool.
it's kind of funny in real estate. It's like we always say, like, you can be really sad, but literally the next day you could have a buyer under contract, so you could be crazy happy the next day.
Yeah.
It's very
it's
much
like a roller coaster. I
Yeah.
imagine it's a lot of highs, a lot of lows.
Exactly.
So yeah.
And like when you're making the money, you're probably exhausted because you're busy. You're constantly writing offers
that's been a
and all of
huge
that.
thing is figuring. The feast or famine element.
Yeah.
Obviously, you get a big check, and then I didn't make $1 in Q2 this year.
Right.
Not
But
one,
then-
which is
Right.
crazy. But then
you have to budget.
You very much have to budget.
plan
And
that.
so it's definitely a journey learning how to live that life. You can't just like look at your account when you have a big paycheck and just go crazy. You have to be like, okay,
no.
this is maybe the next 2 or 3 months,
Right. Right.
and be smart. So that's also something I've learned over the last 5 years of doing this.
Yeah.
For
yeah.
sure.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and then I think Smarge wanted to point out, kind of going back to like when couples don't agree.
Yeah. Do you have a crazy story you want to share? Where you sat back and went, "Wow, you guys really do need professional help, and not my kind of professional help."
Well, back when things were really gross, where you had zero time to think, I
It was, like,
hated.
within hours.
Yeah, I hated telling them I need you to make a decision tonight.
Right,
It won't be here
right.
tomorrow.
But
It
it,
will-
literally
it
won't.
be here.
Yeah, so you need to discuss
That-
it tonight,
right,
and
that
I'm
would be
pushing
tough.
people in a corner, and you could see by one person's face that they love it,
Yeah.
and they're gonna try all night to convince
the
their
other
partner,
person.
and then the other person is looking at me like,
Help.
I hate this, and so it's.
What did
it's,
you do to me? I thought
Yeah.
you were my friend.
And there's actually been times,
So much
where we'll
stress.
get to inspection and one thing will come up at inspection, which is probably easy and fixable, but and it ends up being in termination. So
the spouse is like, nope, that's the deal breaker for me.
Exactly. So
we wanted a new window.
Exactly. So little things could be the deal breaker.
Over
which
there
is fine
on that brick
because
wall.
Clearly someone wasn't happy from the beginning. So.
Right.
Yeah, it all
works out though in the end.
Exactly. Hopefully. Yeah. And again, no one's going to be, I mean, it's almost impossible for both people to be 100% happy. Someone's probably going to have to sacrifice on one place or the other. But yeah, it's a matter of.
But they can make it work.
Do you ever see, like, guys, because I follow you obviously very avidly on social media, and you have you show the most amazing houses and some of the most interesting houses. Do you have some house that stands out?
I remember like a shed or something up in the mountains. I was like, it didn't even have like floors or something or walls or I don't know. It was
definitely shown some buildings that should not
be lived in,
be even accessible, frankly.
Wow.
Some, it'll say not FHA.
I think I found my realtor.
I'll go out there and we'll check them
I'm
out.
looking for a cabin.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's half of it is going and seeing it because those wide angle lenses work magic these days.
Don't they?
So.
Yes, they do.
And I always tell my clients, you can't smell photos.
No.
So you got to get in there.
That's
You
a good
go.
point.
You got to get in there and smell that house.
Did they have a bunch of cats that were just running
or were
around
they
rampant?
smokers or just gross
not the
people?
ganja type.
Yeah, not the good type. So there's you really got to get in there and smell them. We've definitely stood on a deck and heard it creak and instantly had to get off. That was scary. There's been moments where there was one time where there was a cup of milk and
I
Oreos.
sense possibly a skidmark session coming up. Or no?
No, not quite.
Not quite on
not
that.
quite.
This one,
Okay.
that's a huge thing in my business is safety, and I'm really grateful for my brokerage for.
Wait, no, I gotta hear about the
hammering
cup
that.
of milk with Oreos.
There was
What
milk and
that?
Oreos at a listing one time, and we walked in, and I swear the person had just bolted out the back, which maybe was just an accident. Maybe it was a preteen, maybe it was a teenager, but either way, the presence was still there.
Right.
And they're like, "Oh crap, there's a showing," and we're put the key in the door, and someone ran out, and I'm like, "Oh, that glass of milk is cold." So,
my aunt, sorry, I just got to throw this in there. I always have to throw in stories. My aunt is also a realtor. And I asked her what was one of the craziest things she saw. And she said she was walking into a house to do a showing. They had notified the homeowners at the time, well in advance. And she walks in and the person's naked. And she had to close the door and she had to be okay, hold on.
wait, that might have been my listing.
No.
I'm not even kidding. Was it in Firestone?
I have no idea. This was 5 years ago. She told us the story.
Okay.
My
Because
So it happens apparently.
Oh no, it was very bad, and that was a very sad moment because I got feedback and I had to tell my seller hey, you and your roommate both get notice of these, and she said there was someone in the bed. I was so embarrassed.
You got to put your clothes on.
Clearly didn't get an offer from that one, so
No.
yeah, it's tough because you can't control what people are going to do. You can only guide them.
Right.
So you want to sell your house, right? I think I posted also the siding that was burned next to the grill. I think you saw that
maybe
one.
That, yeah.
There was a grill right next to the
did
house.
see that,
Plastic
yes.
siding totally melted.
Oh my God.
You can't
Sometimes
control what renters do,
No.
Well, sometimes I'm
Problem.
is this Alyssa's experience or is she finding real estate things? But this is things that you're seeing in the film.
it's common if you're looking.
Yeah.
You just got to pay attention. I would say I do a range of price ranges of showings, which is nice, a big array. So
When you
sad to
take
say-
in how many out of how many showings you do, when you're taking in somebody interested and they're these people have put it up, they're out of the house. How many bongs and pipes do you see lying around? And I'm talking weed.
definitely
a lot in
seen
Colorado.
some bongs. There was a listing with the actual plants in the picture one time. which was good. I have that screenshot on my
and
phone.
like you said, a picture, you can't smell it.
I had sellers. Good friends. Shout out. They're great. And they had a little grow in their backyard.
But
and
that's probably in Colorado. That's probably high
and
high investment.
they were planning to harvest before we were having showing start, but we were getting pictures done when it was still green and pretty out. So I told the photographer, I'm like, can you just angle it in these ways? And of course, he laughed. They also were growing corn, so the corn mostly blocked it. But
Right.
those also are still on Zillow, I'm fairly certain. You can't see it unless you really zoom in.
Right,
but,
right.
we live in a legal state, so
Right.
it's bound to happen every now and then.
So when we sold our house when we were in like middle school or high school or
Oh,
something.
that would have been a nightmare. To
Wait, the one in
had-
Willow Springs?
Yeah,
On
but
the
it
golf
was the
cart.
one with the long driveways. Was the other one, the older one.
The like wooden one that was
Yeah,
close to
so it
like
wasn't-
Willowbrook more so.
Willowbrook, yeah.
Willowbrook, okay.
So that house, we were selling that house, and I mean, it was kind of an older house, but for the most part, it was, fairly.
It was
put together.
Willowbrook. It was really cool.
It was cool, but it was. You would say it was kind of older. Like so what I'm referencing is the deck off my mother's.
Yes, I remember that.
Room was very old, and they were actually doing a showing, and my realtor was on the deck, and it collapsed, and
Oh,
she
that's so
fell
scary.
through. She actually got really hurt. Like she broke her back, I think.
no.
I remember this
Surgery.
now. Wasn't she like your nanny too?
Yeah, she was my old
Yeah.
nanny, and she became a realtor after she stopped watching us. And
Yeah.
You
she
broke
got
the nanny's
really hurt.
back.
It was
Pray.
terrifying. It was so bad. So, and then there was like lawsuit. It was really bad. It
Oh
was
no.
really scary. But I mean, obviously she's
Well, hopefully
fine now,
homeowners
but-
insurance, stepped in, and hopefully it was
I don't
okay. And
You gotta
hopefully-
have the
but-
right clauses is something I
Oh,
learned
do you?
through my
Oh.
insurance agent.
Yeah,
I forget
there's-
what it is, but it's like some certain clause that will protect over so much amount of money if something like that were to happen, or like your
Yeah.
chandelier falls and stuff.
I just said I want to hear the craziest story. I want to be insured for that. Now my premium is pretty high, but I have had some crazy ass things.
Yeah.
Well, as
happen.
many people as you have coming in and out of your door, maybe you should look into that.
I mean,
No,
I
I
had
keep it going.
I had a recent client wanting to climb on roofs as a buyer, and I had to explain to him he couldn't do that either because
Oh my god!
first off, he's not a roofing professional, and I don't have an insurance policy for you, to do that.
Yeah,
That's
So
what your
that's what an
inspector is
inspector is
for.
for. Thank you. Exactly. So,
that is yeah.
yeah, controlling people's expectations and what they think they need to do is always fun.
Yeah, so like with that, I mean, there's older homes that have a little bit more character, and there's new builds. Like, do you have a preference? Do you have, do you tell your buyers or sellers, well, your buyers probably, what you prefer?
Sorry, your home's too old.
Yeah, like,
Outta here.
would you recommend a new buy, or what's your opinion on?
I really appreciate you asking that.
builds.
That's been a really interesting piece for me to navigate professionally because it's not my house. And
Right.
really and truly, everyone has their own opinion about things. So like if someone looks at me and says, "What do you think?" I'll tell them. And I'm very honest. One of my greater qualities is not being able to truly lie. I'm
Right,
not very
right.
good at fibbing or lying. And I'll just be honest. And I also point out the good, the bad, the ugly always during all showings. I'll be honest. Like if I don't like a certain thing, I'll tell them. Or if it's like, hey, is there no formal dining area? Don't you guys have a dining table? Like I try to point those things out because I'd rather it be a success story and us get to the closing table than them realize halfway through
This
all the
isn't really
crap
what we
that's
want.
wrong.
Right.
So I'm like, let's talk about all of this. You smell
Right.
that? Kind of smells like dog piss in here. Like I'm trying to like
Yeah.
point those things out.
You're not
Right.
just trying to get a sale. You
Oh,
want
God,
to
no.
help your friends and your clients.
No, the last thing
Give
I
them a
ever
good
want is someone to
experience.
look back and think that I forced them
fire
into
remote
yeah,
force.
no. That was what was really rough is in 2020 is how we had to move so quick.
Yeah.
It wasn't fun to operate on that
Right.
report.
Even
at
with
all.
the pandemic going on, it really was like, I want to say, I don't know, one of our good friends she looked at like 13 houses. And I feel so lucky because the house we bought was the second house we looked at.
Oh wow. I just did 51 showings for a client.
Oh my
51?
God.
51.
We did talk about the quick
And
one.
they,
Or-
In a
they
month.
did, they did
I know.
decide eventually.
Oh yeah, they closed 3 weeks ago.
I bet you're good riddance.
They were tough because they could only go like 5:30 after work.
Oh my God.
So we're like 5:30 to 7:30 Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
And then
Friday.
when do you have time to sit in your hot tub if you're doing all these
That's
late
why
night
when
showings?
people are judging me when I'm sitting in my hot tub at noon on a Tuesday.
You've
Take
earned that
advantage.
I say,
Tuesday.
guys, I've been working my butt off on Saturday night.
Hey,
and
you've earned that
Sunday, so-
Tuesday, and this is what I
Yeah.
said. They don't know it's your Tuesday afternoon. For fuck's sake, it could be your Wednesday evening. Like
Well, yeah, because you're working the week.
that's what I'm
when
saying.
people
Like
have
they
free
don't
time.
know. They don't
A lot
know.
of real estate agents block off like Sundays or block off Saturdays, but a lot of those real estate agents don't close as many deals. So
Yeah.
you kind of have to be available. I do find time and I'll tell people, hey, I'm going to dinner with a friend. I'll probably be out of pocket for a couple hours.
Yeah.
But I will say I'm still figuring out how to travel and go camping and do all those things.
And the whole thing is you should. And the whole thing, don't be so judgmental. Don't be, read the label.
Yeah. It's tough. I mean, one time
before you make a judgment call, read the label.
It's true.
For God's sake.
One time I got an Instagram while I was at Grand Lake paddleboarding, and it was to sell and buy. And by the time I had messaged him back, like 6 hours later when I got into service, she said, "I'm so sorry, I messaged my other friend." I was like, oh my gosh. Like,
did you want to work for someone that would only give you 6 hours?
I mean, that's fair, And it was like,
it was
like a, $30-some thousand between two checks. I was like, well, pains me. Like, you gave me 6 hours. I was paddleboarding, but it is what it is.
Right.
So you got to be,
well, you had said earlier, there's probably a reason for that.
Exactly. Probably would have been a nightmare deal. So
that's, something, maybe the universe was like saying, hey, don't
just go paddleboard with your family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I imagine that really this career takes a toll on your personal life because, like you just said, you can't just like go off on a whim and do whatever you want a random day if you don't have a showing or whatnot. Like, how has that affected maybe your
certainly don't Instagram if you are,
or your personal life? I mean,
no, this is a very good question, right?
Career.
It's tough because if I have an active buyer and they're very active and we're looking, I have them set up to where the email sends them the home immediately. If there's anything within their criteria, they'll get the home the second it hits the market. So, and I'm kind of at their beckoning call, know? So I will say that has been tough because I also want to be their point person. That's how you earn your client's trust. And that's how you become the person they want to reach out to. My brokerage has a system where I can contact, not to say backup, but there's 300 plus other agents that I can pay to do individual showings. So if it's just a showing, all it is getting them in the door, and I can pay $20 a showing, $25 a showing to a colleague, to a licensed real estate agent to show some friends, or clients a home.
Right.
But, at the end of the day, I don't have another me or an assistant. It's really just me and me running my business.
Running your empire.
Yeah, as best I can. So.
Well, I think you do a great job.
Congratulations, too.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said earlier, it sounds like you found your passion, which is great. And then it sounds like you're starting now. Maybe your 20s was about finding your passion, and here it is. And now these 30s are about navigating, how to live the best, trying to find that balance, that moderation.
That's so true. And, some of my colleagues who've been in the business for longer than me have given me some amazing advice about quality over quantity and having really good, meaningful clients. And I'm grateful enough, you guys, I have never cold called and I have never door knocked. And I do not send out random mailers. The only people who get my mailers are people who
that
have
says
asked
a lot.
For it.
You've earned
I
that.
get it. I subscribe.
Yes, you guys specifically asked for it, and I'll start sending you one because it's valuable stuff, and I don't bombard people's mailboxes.
There's like recipes in there. It's great.
Your home horoscope. So some stuff, some very cool stuff.
That's why we have the 8-ball right here in
the So and I love it. It mixes from design and interior design and stuff to also, again, helping people make amazing financial success and move through the world.
So. Is that what your background is interior design?
No, my college degree is in sociology.
Oh, no way. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and like family studies.
Well, that's relevant though, family studies.
Yeah, well, remember I worked at the Shiloh house?
You did? Okay. Yeah, I bet that was an experience.
Yeah, that was different. Very, very different. So.
Do you think you want to share?
There were skidmark stories for days from that time. I mean, I quit that job without having another job. My dad was like, "You can't do that." I said, "Have you ever wanted to harm a 12-year-old?" No, I don't think so.
That's my sign.
I had to leave.
Sign off.
Yeah, so I got out of there.
Oh my gosh. So I have to ask, just because, we started this little adventure podcast in the laundry room for our future generations that are in our family. If you could just narrow it down to something that I, as a grandparent, might be able to say to future generations that might help about, first, if they want to be a homeowner, because that was one question I forgot to ask real quick. Like, do you see, like, you're working with people that want to be homeowners, they want to pay this off. They're not looking at it as like an investment or anything like that, correct? The majority of them they're looking for their home.
Most of them is primary residence, correct.
Right, okay. So, anyway, with that in mind, say they do want to, like what could be the best advice I could give them?
I mean, obviously save. To me personally, when I bought my house, I put a little I went to the bank and started a saving account and I named it house.
Okay. Yeah.
And I moved
Keep it simple.
$5, $10, $50 into that account, and I made it kind of like unaccessible.
Yeah.
I mean, in my mind or whatever. I think I
them,
pulled money one time out of it. But it was a really nice way to just move money. I would say it's interesting though. Like I never wanted to be a wife. I'm now a wife, but like a lot of little girls I know had this dream of like getting married.
Right.
I always had this dream of like washing my dishes in the kitchen with a window. Like it was this weird.
Cute.
I'm not even kidding. It was like always like this dream of mine to like have a house and like
you have that.
Yeah,
I always dreamt about being a mother. Never dreamt about the Prince Charming. Never dreamt about the father. Never even thought about how my children would appear.
Right.
But I was definitely going to be a mom, but never thought about anything outside of that. So you're
Being a
probably
wife.
washing your dishes and you have your window.
Being
You're
the
not
homemaker and stuff.
Yeah.
And it
For
wasn't
yourself,
about
though.
being, it was never necessarily being a mom or a wife. And now, I'm a wife, maybe one day a mom, but
You're a fur mama to
I
zucchini.
am, and that's correct. I have a
Zucchini.
fur baby.
Zuki, he's so
That's
cute.
correct. So it's interesting. I would just say wanting it. Truly, I think is if you
want it,
then save money.
Manifest.
And if you don't,
if you
that's
want,
fine,
maybe that's what I could say. If you really want that, hey, let's sit down and maybe we can come up with a plan that will help you get that.
And start a tangible account, and they can see a little bit of money go over there at a time. And you know what I mean? And not everyone's blessed with an investment portfolio or understands stocks or anything like that. But if you have a checking account or savings account that just puts a little bit of money, that's tangible money you can see. So that would be truly my advice to someone starting. And then really, if you're more further along, talk to a lender, like really, and see where you're at. Because I've had people get not, like I said earlier, not like what they get told. And then they're like, well, do this. Let me help you.
Yeah.
And then they're it's like, should I pay off my student loans? No, student loans don't matter as much. Pay this off. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like what will help you?
To help you excel better, to help you have a better experience.
Well, and on that,
That's great.
what do you think like real estate will look like for future generations? Like the kiddos who are just being born now. I mean, it's already
One
so
last quick question. Smarge does have this question. So if you had to, just say if you had to put a monetary, like a price value on letting these youngsters stay here for a month, 2 months, a year, or whatever, to help save for their little nest egg, so they can move on and not rent and purchase. And so, like, could you put a monetary value on that at all, like a monthly one, maybe, or something?
that could be personal though, right? Depending on like their income. And
I don't know. I think she knows what I'm getting
To
at.
stay at your house?
how
Is that
much
the
should rent
question?
cost at Smarge's house?
No, I'm just curious because it does help.
Well, it all
But then you
depends on
don't
your
have to-
income.
And also, you don't have to sign, like, you don't have to get into
An agreement.
an agreement. Yeah, because you're waiting for your house. You know, you're not being pushed out into somewhere else.
Right. I mean,
Priceless. Is that what you were going to say? That's what I hear.
it's basically priceless because it's unheard of and unavailable almost everywhere else. I just had clients stay at a residence inn for about 6 weeks.
Oh
I have heard of that. I have heard of that. And I'm like, what?
And
No.
the mister was hilarious the entire time. He's like, it was great. He's like, we got fresh towels every day.
Oh my gosh. Well, if they're okay with
Someone
it,
wash
that,
my sheets
you know what?
every other day.
Hey, that's if 50% happy,
Breakfast?
that's 100% and
Yeah.
200%. I mean, that's if he was happy, that's good. But no, I think also, like,
I think
Coffee
you make
Jean-
it per diem. This is my answer. You need to find a per day.
Yeah,
Per
and just
diem.
yeah.
Okay, but I want to get back to what do you predict real estate will look like for, you know, like little Al and Monk? When, I mean, I know that's hard to say, but do you think there's going to be some sort of like reform or something? Because I feel like it's getting
20, 30
increasingly
years.
more difficult.
God, if you look at every graph in like the history of time,
Oh my gosh.
real estate just goes up.
Yeah.
Right,
There's
right.
lulls where
What-
there's
how does
moments
it
when it
even-
goes down.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the idea. I hate to say anything, but you know, of like land, but I mean, people go to war over land. I mean,
Yeah.
land is valuable in a lot of ways. And so to me personally, it's an investment that, again, is priceless, mostly because you are autonomous and you own it. No one's going to tell you what to do with it. Right. And I think that to me is where the true value comes in. Now, again, if you're buying a condo or townhouse with an HOA, that's a little bit different. But buying a single family house with a yard, like, that's yours to do what you'd like with it. Yeah. And I think that the value is quite priceless. I think in 20 years, prices are going to go up.
Of course.
And that's that's my only.
Well, not even 20, because I don't think they would be ready till like. That's going to be like another 30 years probably.
You mean, 30,
20 to 30.
Yeah,
depends
20.
Where they're at.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She rocked it on real estate. So that's obviously, I'm sure you're going to try to make that a model for your kids. Obviously you did. So you wouldn't be here
this is
had
just
you not.
From like edging up.
Exactly.
At the right time and not having to have to sell.
This is an amazing house. So that to me, I think is it's going to be starting them early.
Yeah.
Getting him in, because even like I look back now, again, anyone who got in 5 years ago is in a really good position.
Yeah.
And again, it's like people always ask, when should I buy? And people make the joke yesterday, but that's really the best time to buy.
Yeah.
Because it's yesterday, because what you're doing is not paying a landlord in the meantime. You're not pissing money down the drain.
Yeah.
You're putting it back in your
You're not making
pocket.
somebody else rich.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's even like, you could sit down and do math of, should I break my lease and it costs X amount, or buy this house? And it's like, well, at what point does you breaking your lease, the math actually adds up to you should break your lease.
Yeah.
You know?
That is where you actually need to do the math.
Especially if it's the right house.
Exactly.
Right.
And you mean, again.
And put a value on that, not a crazy value.
Bringing a baby home and having holidays and celebrating moments, and also like being sad and having your place and then leaving and going on vacation and then coming home to this place you love. I mean, I think the value of home is beyond comprehension.
Anything else.
So, it's
the most
truly
important thing.
Real quick, where are you at with this whole VRBO and the Airbnbs?
That's something we've got.
Podcast, we are thinking that we're not impressed.
We feel like they're
lately.
maybe going to kind of.
Well, they're definitely on the phase out.
Okay, that's what we thought. Okay,
I would say
you heard it here first, guys. The laundry room.
I would say there's amazing value in a lot of them, because you just people can leave their boogie boards and their bikes behind and stuff, and you can use like the stuff, and you have the family house. And I think if you're not doing the exorbitant fees and the ridiculous cleaning fees and just
what about the lists? That's what finally true.
Oh, the
list. It's not even I don't know what it is.
Do the laundry, do the dishes.
Yeah.
And make sure you leave there was even one.
But then you pay cleaning.
Take the trash out.
Can you please turn down the water heater when you leave? Like, I don't even do that at my house.
And then also pay a cleaning fee after you cleaned it.
$25 if you forget to turn down. $25 if you forget to turn down the hot water.
Yeah.
Which they can probably do on their phone. I don't know.
I think that
these are outrageous.
I think that there's some good ones that exist, and if you really take the time and find them, it can be a beautiful thing. But I think the whole Airbnb market has gotten crazy, and especially Denver really felt the heat in a weird way. And now it's actually quite hard. You have to get on a list to get approved, and
it has to be like your primary residence, technically, right?
Yeah. So there's definitely laws to it. It can either be your primary residence or not, but then you pay an exorbitant tax fee on it.
Oh, okay.
Like you don't get to rake in the same. So that's also why people are compensating by doing other stupid fees to compensate for the fees they're paying.
This is the cleaning fee, even though you just cleaned it for us.
It's our tax fee.
Got it.
Yeah, it's tough. I think that they're cool for what they are, because especially if you have a big group or something, it can be a really great thing. But in general,
choose wisely. I mean,
they got overpopulated.
Pay attention. Sort your colors from your whites and your darks and your blues,
exactly.
Sort through it.
I feel like a lot of homeowners kind of took advantage of it. They were like, well, we can charge X amount because we live in this beautiful home in this beautiful area.
But then also we have your credit card number.
Yeah, they just keep racking up the price. But that's crazy.
Okay.
With that, I think it's time for our
skidmark session. Cycle. Load.
Yeah.
Let's get those skid marks out.
Yeah, skidmark load, I think. Yeah, let's
like
get
to
some
ask-
bleach out, stain stick.
We like to ask each of our guests if they have had a skid mark cycle in their life if you'd feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah, not real estate related, but sort of, I guess.
Totally fine. It does not have to be real estate
Okay,
related.
perfect. I would say, just to get on a personal level, so my dad had a double lung transplant. Shout out to Garth. A lot of people know.
Love
So-
you, Garth.
Your dad's name is Garth.
It is.
Oh, I
Party
love
on,
that
Garth.
name.
He's
That
the
was one of the
sweetest. I love
names
your dad.
I chose for my 4 daughters. So I never got to use it, but Garth was like right up there.
Oh yeah. So
Love the name.
so I lost
and-
my mom
oh
to lung
gosh,
cancer
shout
when I
out
was
to Garth.
20. So that was rough already. And then my dad had COPD and emphysema, and he was on oxygen for about 5 years, and he got put on the lung transplant list in January, and then
Of this year?
and got the procedure 8 days later.
Wow.
He was only on the list for 8 days, which was
That's
wild.
incredible.
So I was driving down I-70 when I got the call, and I think that's when the skid mark happened. And it was like, it's happening right now. I mean, like not right now, but he's,
Right.
it was, they found a match. So, it's pretty crazy.
That doesn't happen very
How
often.
is it difficult usually to find a match? I mean, how long?
Well,
is
it
there an
depends on your
average, or
blood
do you-
type and
Oh, okay,
your
okay.
body size. So my dad's
time.
pretty average sized.
And
So
karma.
that's probably true. I believe that my dad's a good guy. So his karma
Great.
came back to him.
Yay.
So yeah, it was literally 8 days he had been on the list, and
Wow. That
and,
is a,
yeah, we got a
I have
call.
goosebumps. So
And
yeah,
then-
that's definitely a,
it was crazy. And he was in the hospital for 30 days after. I mean,
my
it was a long stay. So I was going out there, and
was that normal? I mean, was he
they
or
said
was it
20 to 30.
Oh,
So he was
okay.
on
So
the
on the lighter.
on the longer side. But yeah, that was a big moment in my life, and shout out to all my clients who gave me grace during that time, really and
Yes.
truly. Cause,
Nice.
and I told them, I'm like, I'm going through this thing, but it's also hard cause it's like, they're going through this thing. They're like, look, we're buying, selling the biggest purchase we've ever made in our lives.
Right, right.
Talk
So-
about work-life
But
balance.
I think the fact that you acknowledge it and that you know that, but then you also share a little bit, I think that's the best you can do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So it was definitely a big time, and I'm grateful, and he's healthy.
how
and
is
He's doing
happy
good
now.
now.
He's amazing, guys. Like, we share Apple Watch activity, and I get notices like he rode 10 miles on a bike the other day.
Hell yeah.
And he walked 5 miles on the beach.
Shout out to Garth.
Shout out to Garth.
And not
You
the
Garth.
famous Garth, right? I mean,
No.
come on. Shout out to him.
Because also Alyssa
That is
has
awesome.
a famous husband. He's a famous
Yes,
musician.
yes.
But
And unfortunately,
we can give him a shout out, but he can't be on
oh,
the
yeah.
podcast.
But he
He's too
can
famous.
call in. He can write in,
email?
He can email.
Yeah.
He can even call. We could even put him on the.
Yeah, shout out to the orchestrator, yeah?
Aw.
He's performing in Denver actually in January. So
Afro Man is opening up for him, for
correct.
the
Which is
orchestrator.
yeah.
Amazing.
So that's why he can't be on the
Guys.
podcast. He's too famous.
I've
far
seen
too
him
famous.
several times live, and he is amazing.
Thank you, guys. He is very good. I'm biased, but he's amazing.
Yeah, no, very
What is
talented.
that like being married to a famous musician?
It's good. It's really good. Actually, I'm really proud of him. We make jokes all the time. It's like,
How long have you been together?
almost
Around.
6 years, which is crazy.
So you've been able to see probably like not as famous to grow into.
Oh,
my
definitely.
gosh, people know.
So we
who
get
you
recognized
are.
at brunch and
Oh,
stuff now.
are you just like, oh my god, people know who you are? Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's been a journey. We make jokes because it's like
Aw.
another Denver real estate agent, another Denver DJ. Married,
That's
but,
great.
like,
you guys need your own podcast.
or like a
Feel
Instagram
free to come
page
to
or
the
something.
Oakway studio. It'll be done hopefully by November.
All right, we definitely will. So it's interesting for sure. I would say we navigate being at home and working at home from home together.
Yeah.
But you have pretty big
Which says a
space,
lot.
which is
It does. That's great. And it
does.
says a lot.
Yeah, but I'm very, he's making crazy moves, and
As you are.
thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun to hype each other up, and both have very non-traditional but traditional in Denver jobs, and we love
Right.
what
Yeah, no,
we
you
do.
guys are
so.
like building your own empire. It's awesome.
Thank
And
you.
supporting
Aw.
each other.
You guys are like a
and-
power couple.
Aw,
Yeah.
I really
Power couple of
appreciate you guys.
Denver.
Thank you
really
so
are.
That
much.
is very cool.
Thank you guys.
Awesome.
Well,
I appreciate
Alyssa,
you.
thank you so much for being
Yes.
on the podcast.
Thank
we really
you.
appreciate all of your
It's amazing.
insight.
Thank you guys.
We always end our podcast with 5 on the line.
Ooh, I'm ready.
So, yep, we're going to ask you 5 questions and hang it all out.
Is it like
to
short
dry.
answers, or how's it work?
However
However
you
you
want to
want.
answer.
Okay.
You know, because you're on the lap dance and laundry room session, which is rules are up to the guest. I mean,
Right.
there's no,
Yeah,
ready.
and,
You-
and don't put a lot of thought into it. We're just gonna
we do find
fire
that
them off and
Yeah.
whatever
Whatever comes
less
to your
stress
mind.
Right.
first comes usually is the best. That's what I
Perfect.
can say.
Otter, why don't you kick us off?
All right. What was your favorite vacation as a child? I mean, it doesn't have to be as a child, but ideally, like your favorite family vacation.
We went to Hawaii when I was 7, and my brother was 11, and we got to tell everyone we were 7 and 11 the whole time, which was really fun. And yeah, we went to the Big Island and Honolulu.
Hawaii, the big, yeah,
Both.
nice.
It was awesome.
Nice, nice.
And then with that, what was your worst vacation? Even as a child or even like now?
Was it an Airbnb?
I've personally never had an Airbnb horror story, thank goodness.
Thank
Worst vacation was probably not a vacation, but I've had a lot of family members pass, so I'd say going to travel for funerals.
Yeah, that's not fun.
Yeah,
that's
not
never
fun.
a good time.
No.
Who was your role model growing up, and has that changed, and why?
I would say my dad, and definitely still is. He always I've always been a daddy's girl. Just always. He's always been a hustler, and he had a non-traditional job. He's in the film business all of my life. So he did movies and commercials, and kind of like me, he never did the same thing twice, which I always loved because, the monotony of like sitting in an office.
To have the chance to be able to do it. And to have the effort and the energy and the want. Why
exactly.
not?
So
it. Try it.
As a daddy's girl
Try it.
myself, I can appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Yes,
definitely my dad. He knows
can
how to have
as well.
fun and be silly, but also always worked hard. So.
Right.
And he is such a genuine guy. I've met him a few times too, and he's always like at your parties. He's so involved.
Oh, yeah.
He's such a sweet guy. I
Thank
love
you.
Dad.
Party on Garth.
Party on Garth. I love that. That's his name on Insta.
Yes, it
I
is.
love that. All right. Who was your favorite childhood pet?
My childhood pet was Millie. That was our fam dog. Yeah.
What kind of doggo?
Total much. It was like beagle, basset hound. Just
They are the best. The mutts are the best.
she was the best.
Yeah.
Little testy, but
Yeah.
Millie.
Oh,
They have the
Millie.
most personality.
They really do.
Oh. And then here we are at the last 5 on the line. What's the last song you listened to, or the last song on your playlist when you had your earbuds in, or you were in the car, or whatever it was?
No judgment.
No
If it's
judgment.
like
we
Backstreet
just
Boys,
always like to listen
It's the
because
orchestrator.
Yep. Well, that's what I was saying. Oh, I think this one we might know the answer to, but maybe not. I don't know.
Well, the last thing I was listening to was you guys' podcast.
Oh, that's so
look at
sweet. That is the
that.
best answer we
really
have
cute.
ever had.
That's
Thank you,
awesome.
Alissa.
Yep, no problem. But I did have, I will say, I had Plies and T-Pain.
Oh,
Okay, there you
I
go.
was jamming that earlier.
I love it. 'cause
My shorty. Yep.
All right, that's a classic. That's a good one.
That's right.
I just love that
love
question.
it.
It's my
And
favorite.
we ain't
It's a good
doing
one.
nothing
Yeah.
that we
And I
ain't
just
supposed
did want to
do.
put a quick thing. As some of our listeners know, we went to a podcast convention conference type thing in August.
Yeah.
And we met a gentleman there by the name of Doc, and he was from Maui.
Mm-hmm.
And Maui, the island of Hawaii, has just been through a horrendous challenge.
Yes.
Hell
So we just wanted to give a shout out to Maui and just to let them know we haven't forgotten.
yeah.
Yes.
You're still in
Yes.
our thoughts. and
Yes.
We love
so
them
many
in there.
episodes later.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I always told him because his concern was they'll just forget about us in
It's
2
true.
weeks.
Yeah.
That's
And
what
I'm like-
happens.
Forget about it. People probably already have.
They're still going
And I'm
through
like,
it, but
they're still
the
going
world's
through
moved
it.
on to the next
yeah,
strategy.
and I just wanted to give a shout out, and
Yeah.
you haven't
Yeah.
been
Thank you.
forgotten.
Yes.
Oh,
Good
Thinking of you.
Absolutely.
All right.
Gosh, it was a great cycle.
thank you guys for having me. It was wonderful. Appreciate you guys.
Hey, before we wrap up this spin cycle, Haas and I would like to give a quick shout out to those listeners who may be famous. We really do adore you, and even though you do not qualify as an NTRG, not the real guest, we would always love to hear from you. This is Smarge and Haas, keeping it sorted, keeping it real, from the family laundry room. Be safe, stay even, and remember, when in doubt, go half.
Thank you for listening to Dirty Laundry Clean Confessions. Follow us on Instagram at Dirty Laundry Clean Confessions. And if you would like to be the next Not the Real Guest, please email us at dirtylaundrycleanconfessions@gmail.com. We would love to air out the dirty laundry with you. A DLCC disclaimer. In this live pre-recorded episode of DLCC, Not the Real Names, NTRN, have been used to protect the guilty and a few of the innocent.